Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of StarSound Speaks. This is your host, Irlianna Samsara of StarSound Astrology. So this is episode 192, and yeah, we are getting pretty close to 200 there. I feel like I want to make like a big cake with a big 200 on it. I got to think about what kind of ingredients I want. Venus is still in Leo, so we're still partying. We're just, the Leo thing. We just celebrate anything, celebrate all year long. But yeah, so episode 192. So in this episode, I want to, I'm going to just walk us through, by the way, happy new moon, everyone. Started Eastern Standard Time about 4 a.m. this morning, Saturday, August 27th. And I'm going to walk us through quickly the new moon and the signs. I forgot to do that in the last video. And then I'm just going to get into the astrology of September. It's a busy month. Yeah, so, and I have thoughts to share about that. But anyway, so yeah, before we start, yes, I think we can all feel that Mercury, the Mercury, to reiterate about these next several months, Mercury and Mars are very, very prominent and are going to be, especially with Mars going retrograde in Gemini, spending 7 months in that sign and in Mercury's domain. And then Mercury right now is in shadow retrograde, and it's about to go retrograde in another, I don't know, 10 days or so. So there's a lot a lot coming up about change in all its facets. But anyway, so the new moon, I'm going to pull this up for you guys. The new moon in the sign of Sagittarius. Here it is for Washington, D.C. 4 degrees. As you can see, we have that exact square square from Mars. So, there's this push-pull about feeling, like rush, got to get things done, got to make new inroads, buzz here, buzz there, Mars is already obnoxious enough, but then you put him in Gemini sign and it's like, I got to go in 20 different directions and I want to investigate everything and I want to know and I'm curious. Well, that's wonderful. But of course, with that square to the sun in Virgo season, it's like, Virgo is like, let's just be disciplined. Let's be organized. Let's, be discerning and sift through and be industrious and efficient. So Mars doesn't like that. So they're like clashing. So, go, but no, slow down, so we're going to be dealing with that all month. So as we can see here, if you are a Leo rising, we'll start with Leo. This new moon is in the second house, which is about your worth, your personal finances and your possessions, talents, things that you value greatly. So that efficiency and industriousness is going to be occurring in that area of your life, with a square from your 11th house, Mars in the 11th, which is the house that rules friends and groups and hopes, wishes, and dreams, maybe taking a new direction with friends that you hang out with. And, that's that being at play. Okay, then for Virgo rising, this will be in your first house, angular first, very important. Your physical health for sure, all you Virgo risings. This is the time for everybody, but especially Virgo rising, to do a detox, cleansing and health and attention and service to self-care, for sure, self-care and health and dietary regimens, healthy food, healthy eating. Having that square from Mars in Gemini, maybe wants to investigate all different kinds of ways to do that. So, working that out. And that's also in the 10th area of one's career and public image. So there's that square is occurring from the 10th. Okay, the next one is Libra. So Libra rising, this is going to be in your 12th house, which is that, the man cave or the girl cave or woman cave. It's the hermit's cave, really. And so industriousness, hard work behind the scenes, really culling and cultivating. When you think about Virgo, discernment and efficiency are very, really looking very clearly at everything that Leo has provided, this big opening of light. And then it's like, okay, let's get down to work. Let's see what we need to do and what we need to cull, what we need to take, what's the, the wheat from the chaff. And so that'll be happening for all you guys behind the scenes in solitude, and industrious hard work behind the scenes. 9th house is around education. So you might be finding yourself curious about going back to school or taking a class or teaching, or, you know, connecting with others of a higher mind in a new pathways with, you know, perhaps spirituality, or new pathways, making, you know, some nice exotic trips or long distance trips to explore new places. So the next sign would be Scorpio rising. So Scorpio, for you Scorpio risings, the new moon is going to be in your 11th house, which is friends, groups, hopes, wishes, dreams, one's colleagues. So there's this industriousness and efficiency and a discernment that's taking place amongst in that area of your life. The square from Mars coming from the 8th. Mars in the 8th could be maybe it might bring up some conflict and with you know, maybe survival issues, or, you know, is my mind sharp enough, and can I, you know, am I conflicted with and having conflicts with my friends, maybe about serious, heavy issues like life, death, sex, taxes, you know, it's all 8th house. So that might be going on for you. And again, you know, working out that conflict where we're not being impulsive. We're getting things done and being efficient, but we don't want to be rash and impulsive about that, especially in those areas. Then we have Sag, so Sag rising, and your new moon is going to be in the 10th house of your career and your public image. So there's a great amount of work and detail and focus in that area of your life. The square coming from the relationship house, 7th house. So maybe taking a new direction, new attitudes regarding your partner or spouse or the people that you collaborate with. Then we have Cap rising. And so Capricorn rising, you will have this in your 9th house, the house of God in traditional astrology. So it rules, you know, long distance travel and spirituality, esoteric wisdom, academia, higher education, college, very much an industrious goal setting, goal achieving Capricorn risings. You know, you're going to love this one for hard work and efficiency in those areas of 9th house. You know, maybe you'd travel to, I don't know, a working farm, you know, where you can like participate and volunteer your time and, you know, create, you know, like in Israel, they have kibbutzes or communes, and where everybody works together. It's volunteer work. And it might be, you know, when I say agricultural, because Virgo rules the harvest. So that might be fun. Or you might find yourself just, you know, picking apples in an apple orchard, and, you know, being efficient with your energies around those things, especially as they regard travel or study. And then the square would be coming from the 6th house, which is the joy of Mars. So just to watch out for, you know, conflict about your beliefs and ideas, maybe on the job with other people and coworkers and such. Then we have Aquarius rising, and that will be, this new moon will be in your 8th house, which is, you know, it's a very mystical house. It's a house about death and regeneration and rebirth, transformation, breakdowns to breakthroughs, creating new places and new openings, but looking at maybe some subconscious patterns, maybe overcritical overthinking, the overthinking mind, you know, that you want to have a new beginning and take a new attitude toward letting go of those fears and, you know, coming up with new belief systems. The square will be coming from your 5th house. So that will be the square from Mars and Gemini in your 5th, might be taking a new direction with, you know, who you date and who and what you fall in love with, falling in love with books and networking and making new inroads with creative projects, creative passions, children, all of those things, very 5th housey. Okay, Pisces rising, this is in your 7th house of marriage and partnership, and the industrious new beginning there. You know, clean out, you know, if your spouse is not efficient, just throw them away. No, lock them in the closet. If they're messy, you know, this might be when you have to clean up their office, because let's face it, you know, especially Virgos, you know, even though they're known as being fastidious, it's like sometimes you find they can also, the shadow is they can be complete slobs. I mean, oh my goodness. I remember a friend of mine who's a Virgo, he said, you know, like twice a year, his wife has to like clean out his home office because it's like, it gets overwhelming and he can't do it. So she has to come in and, you know, tidy up for him. So, you know, it happens. It's okay. The square from Mars would be coming in your angular fourth. So this is a big deal for you guys, you know, the Pisces rising, because they're both angular houses. The square and the new moon are both in angular houses. So homes and family and home turf, where you know, hopefully not to get argumentative and try to stand for your truth in your family, but not to be overly critical or you know, trying to dominate conversation. Let's see, then we have Aries rising, and this will be in your sixth house of, you know, it's health, it's physical health. So for sure, detoxing and all things health regimens are very highly indicated. The square from the third, you might have to, you know, if your neighbor has cream pie, you know, you cut yourself off from him, you know, and saying, come over and eat my deep dish cream, you know, oh, well, I've just started a juice fast, and now my neighbor made this huge deep dish cheesecake or something. And it's like, no, right? Venus and Leo in your fifth house. Hey, let's party. But it's like, no, because you know what's happening right now too? I'm going to say it later. Venus is right now over this weekend. It's in this opposition with Saturn. So, you know, the party bill becomes due, you know, and that's for everybody. But anyway, back to the rising signs. Taurus rising, you will have this new moon in your fifth house of partying, and so efficiency around your creative projects, and really discerning, you know, maybe there are some projects that you need to take a critical eye to say, okay, is this really necessary? And culling the things that you need to do, and making that break. And that might involve some financial changes too, because the square from Mars is coming in your second house of personal finance. And then we have Gemini rising. So this will be in your fourth house, angular fourth. And again, for Gem risings, this is also key because they are in angular houses, the square and the new moon in the fourth, new beginnings and ways of being, discernment, opportunities, fresh beginnings with the health of your family and your loved ones and your home. Certainly tidying up your home, very great idea to do with the new moon in the fourth house for you Gemini risings. And a new beginning, a new look, you might say, or a new appearance. That's a change, and experimenting and exploring different changes and appearances might also be a part of that. Okay, Cancer rising, third house, new moon in the third house of siblings and relatives and neighbors, and also writing, contacts, PR, advertising, spreading the word, efficiency regarding in your health and your well-being and self-care in relationship to all these third house things. Maybe you want to write and journal around take up this opportunity to do some, really cool writing. And with Mars in the 12th house, just, staying home and maybe making that, the hermit cave work for you with your writing. And then Leo, I think we already started. So that's finished. Okay. Now we go on to the September astrology. So I will say that, I feel like the winds of change are blowing, and they're kicking up. And so it's a little slow in September, but things are going to build. And certainly the eclipse season starts at the end of October. So it's only 2 months away, less than 2 months away. We're back in eclipse season. Can you believe? And solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, Taurus, Scorpio. But right now, there's a lot of indicators that are pointing to the changes. I think socially, politically, in many ways, in the marketplace, with Mars going retrograde in Gemini, we want to remember too that in the chart of the USA, we have natal Mars in Gemini. And so in the angular 7th house. So this is a really big deal for the United States. We could be seeing, especially 7th house in a mundane chart rules foreign policy, or foreign, our relations with other countries. And so we could be seeing some you know, some certainly foreign policy and things, some changes there, maybe taking agreements in a different direction, or walking back ones that we thought were the right way to go regarding, you know, especially business and mercantilism is a Gemini thing, promotion, merchants, things like that. We also have Uranus. This is the Sibley chart. We have Uranus in the seventh house too, and so we could definitely, crypto plays into this hugely. Obviously, you know, Gemini is about currency, and Mars going over that point. As a matter of fact, the day that Mars hit that point, just Wednesday, Mars hit the Uranus point. And there was a solar eclipse a couple of years ago, I remember, on 8 degrees of Gemini back in, was it 2020 or something? And I remember, wow, you know, that's, and so here's a Mars activation. Well, what happened on that day? Well, think about Gemini, education, right? And Uranus is rebellion and a radical change and an innovative solution. And, you know, stepping outside the box and doing something that maybe has never been done before. Well, that was the day that Biden came up with they signed off the student loan debt forgiveness. So very clearly right there in the USA chart. Anyway, so we're going to be seeing a lot of change and switching back, of course, with Mars retrograde, kind of like, it's not a powerful place. Mars always wants to charge forward, but he is going to be he's going to, you know, wheels are going to be spinning backwards from October 30th to January 12th. And so we're already in Mars and Gemini, and then the shadow will start. Let me see, pull up my notes here. Hold on a second. Yeah, so Mars next Saturday, September 3rd, Mars is going to enter, it's in Gemini right now, but it'll be at 8 degrees of Gemini. So that's the shadow retrograde. So watch what happens around Labor Day weekend, because everything, the things that come up there, especially if you're, you know, interested in the United States chart and all, just start noticing things in our own charts. Just see what comes up in our life that is ripe for review in terms of our goals. Mars is about goals and the ambition and drive. And so where we thought we were so certain where we were headed, it's a time when we start saying, you know, maybe I really don't want to go in that direction. Or we already know what direction we want to go in, but things just slowly start to slow down, and our ability to get things done, GSD, right, with Mars, is saying, wait a minute, you know, no, you might feel challenged when Mars in any sign goes retrograde. Everything slows down and it gets challenged, because it's not the time to plow forward. It's like rethinking and strategizing, coming up with new innovative solutions and practical solutions that are in another direction. So Saturday, September 3rd, Mars is going to enter that shadow. But before I continue with the rest of the month, I just have to say that over the weekend, today, tomorrow, we have, I mentioned it as a little joke earlier, Venus opposition with Saturn in Aquarius, and it'll perfect on Sunday, tomorrow, August 28th, and then it'll fade out of range. But that could definitely be about like the party bill, the party of the Venus and Leo party. When it comes into opposition with Saturn, it's taking a little more serious tone. And it's like, okay, well, let's think about long term. We need to integrate wisdom and patience, and, you know, and saying, okay, it's great that we're creative, it's great that we're partying, but you might say, well, how can we make this joy last? How can we make this joy last? What needs to end in order to really keep it going? Weird, right? You know, the endings, but keeping something going. But sometimes you have to put a boundary around something to contain it so that it can be sustained over time. So you could also say it could be a check-in with relationships. If we've been bold and proud and courageously partying and seeking and having, you know, wonderful leonine love affairs, the opposition with Saturn is reining it in a little, and it might feel a little coldness, like a reality check. Maybe we're asking ourselves, well, you know, where's the accountability here? Or, you know, we might be confronted with fears of intimacy, or lack of love, or maybe asking, you know, will this love, will this creative project or this romance, will this stand the test of time? That's another question we might ask. Commitments, love, pleasure, commitments, you know, just coming into, and finances too. You think about Venus, our own personal finances and wealth, and Leo, you know, just getting that reality check. So anyway, now, on to September. So September 1st, this next weekend being Labor Day weekend in the States, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're going to have Mercury, of course, which is slowing down, right? He's little Speedy Gonzalez is starting to slow down because he's going to start to retrograde. The exact retrograde won't be until the 10th. And so, anyway, the Mercury is in the sign of Libra, is going to be opposing a retrograde Jupiter in Aries. So when you have that Libra Aries axis to the axis, Mercury is going to be, excuse me, we're inquiring and asking about equality. When you think about Libra and you see the opposition with Jupiter, you know, are we being equal? Are we let's check in around our agreements and our relations with others. Are we checking our arrogance, or do we have any sense of entitlement? This is a real soul search with Jupiter and Aries around our will and our desire to fulfill in our hopes, wishes, and dreams, but we don't want to be clobbering people with that either. So an opposition in traditional astrology is the nature of Saturn. So it requires patience, listening to others, right? This is our Labor Day weekend. We have these barbecues and, you know, beach parties or whatever, you know, that's going on for us in the Northern Hemisphere, and all of you guys in the Southern Hemisphere, it's like, okay, maybe you're having like ice skating parties, you know. I don't know. But anyway, the nature of Saturn is about patience. It's about listening to others. Think about speaking up for equality for others, equality and fairness for ourselves. A sense of diplomacy, being diplomatic, perhaps, like we said, you know, contending with arrogance, trying to discover our truth, but always in the context of relations with others, and seeking peace and harmony and agreement, because that's what Libra wants. Libra wants love and peace and harmony and agreement. So our attitudes and ideas about that, our mind set is, you know, along that trajectory, that we'll be feeling that throughout the Labor Day weekend. Saturday is also the day that Mars enters shadow retrograde, as I said earlier. So we want to be on the lookout for the Mars archetype of ourselves as that warrior, and that curious warrior. Mars in Gemini, you know, let's not have a war of words or war of ideas, but we can stand passionately for beliefs and our desire to investigate different beliefs and different ways of being that are, you know, different from maybe, you know, what we're used to. A friend of mine said she was thinking about changing her name, and she always used her middle name throughout her whole life. And now she's thinking about using her birth name, which was never used socially, because everything on the, you know, it's always been the middle name. And I know my own mother had her name. She always used her middle name because my grandmother had the same. My grandmother named her after her. So in order to distinguish the two, my mom used her middle name. So that, you know, it's very common. But see, here it is with Mars and Gemini taking a new direction with your name. You know, you could find yourself wanting to change your name, or knowing people and friends and relatives and in-laws and cousins and such, nieces, nephews, you know, that change their name. So anyway, Mars entering this shadow retrograde is that a time that happens starting Saturday, September 3rd. Monday, September 5th, Labor Day in the USA, we have Mars is going to be conjunct the USA, the Uranus of the USA. And so I wonder about, hold on, let me just check and make sure, because I was looking at Biden's chart and then, okay, Biden, yeah, that was the debt forgiveness. Okay, so transiting Mars conjunct the USA Uranus, yeah, just being Virgo efficiency, have to check those details. Hold on. Okay, yeah, I'm glad I checked. It's actually Sunday night, later, 8 o'clock Sunday night, Eastern time, transiting Mars is going to conjunct the USA Uranus. So that's that activation of that eclipse that happened a couple of years ago. It's interesting because, if you listen to the channel, I'm such an eclipse nerd, and Mars activates eclipse points, and it even can be after that nodal axis shift. Like that was back when we had Gemini Sagittarius eclipses, but eclipses can last, the effects can last well into a year or 2 years or even further. But yeah, so some kind of new movement. And back then I remember it was like there was a big issue around robotics in the workplace, with Amazon and all these warehouses that are increasingly using robots, which would be a very Uranus and Gemini kind of thing, right? Robotics in the workplace. Mars being action taken, movement forward, also can be cutting off, or arguments and disagreements around that. And, very much so, people unionizing. It's been in the news around Starbucks wanting to unionize. I don't know what the latest development is around that, but these are places and things that you'll hear around democracy, with Uranus, about democracy and being standing strong and protesting about these various things, especially as regards the workplace. So on Sunday, and of course, Mars, as one of my first teachers always said, Mars likes to jump the gun, right? He's impatient. So there might not be, it'll perfect on Sunday, but it could easily happen Friday or even earlier, where you have this sudden change, a sudden movement that could certainly relate to cryptocurrency, with Gemini ruling currency in markets and commerce and such, or just selling or internet selling in the marketplace. It could also be, when you think about like earth changes and such, windstorms, with Gemini being an air sign, and Uranus, sudden, catastrophic, hopefully, God willing, we don't have this, or goddess willing, but it could be the space where these things happen, where there's sudden windstorms, shaking things up, and messing up neighborhoods. Think Gemini, local travel being cut off, things of that nature. So tumultuous there over this Labor Day weekend. Then on Wednesday, from the 5th to the 29th, Venus will be on the 5th. Okay, we'll go chronologically here. It is Virgo season. We must be linear. Mars is like, no, you don't have to. You can go all around. It's all right. Bounce around. All right, Mars, I'm listening to you, but I'm listening to the sun, but I'm listening to Mars. Anyway, September 5th to the 29th, Venus will enter Virgo. So she's been partying her tush off in Leo, and then it's called party's over. Let's clean up, right? Let's clean up our wild excess, if there has been, and all that wonderful, sweet, delicious partying with huge birthday cakes, and now it's like, okay, got a diet. Venus is in her fall in Virgo, doesn't get a lot of support, because Venus wants to be, cushy and comfortable and have parties and such. Doesn't want to eat, steamed broccoli rabe after a month of eating, pastry. So she's in her fall now, most of the month of through the 29th. So essentially the whole month of September will be Venus in Virgo. And what we also, with Venus ruling relationships, we might find ourselves being very really looking carefully around relationships, and are they working, and is this relationship supportive of me? Is there any care here? It could be very difficult to find a cushy, caring situation. We might want to be practicing discernment with our love connections and friendships and relationships with others. Culling, maybe there's a culling that has to happen where separating the wheat from the chaff of what's really essential, and let's get down to work. Let's be efficient with and how we meet and connect with each other. Maybe with Mercury in Mercury's temple, Mercury being about to go retrograde, we could be seeing the endings of friendships and relationships that are not working coming to an end. That's typical of when Mercury goes retrograde in any sign, but especially with Venus and Virgo. Yeah, we could be seeing relationships that have an expiration date, that are just coming due, like, okay, not working for me. And maybe asking, what could be fixed, or what solutions be, we don't, instead of like maybe tossing it out altogether, maybe there's a solution involved. That you don't have to just end things, but sometimes you do. So that's Venus and Virgo. And then the 10th, on September 10th, we have the full moon in Pisces. But I want to say on Wednesday, September 7th, Mars is going to conjunct Biden's Saturn. So, those are the two malefics, right? Mars and Saturn. Saturn is at 9 degrees Gemini in Biden's natal chart in this angular 7th house. And so, the last time this happened was about 1.5 years ago. And that's when he fell on Air Force One. He was walking up the steps. Sometimes you see from time to time this in the news where, people concerned around his health because he fell, and, he's going to be 80, and, all of that stuff. And then, he got COVID, and his wife got COVID, and, so, there could be something going on regarding his health. There might be news of another health issue. I don't know, Gemini rules the hands, arms, legs, so there he was falling, right? Gemini transportation on the ramp up to Air Force One. So not that we want to create these things, but there could be something around his health. Saturn and Mars being major significators in health and medical astrology. So we might be finding news around that. Certainly, and Gemini is around the mind too, so maybe some cognitive situation, or with because I know there's also been different stories that have surfaced here and there around that. Who knows? We shall see. Astrology is nothing but fascinating. Anyway, moving right along. The Pisces full moon is on September 10th. Full moons always represent endings. Of course, in the sign of Pisces, this is a completion of, what we began with our efficiency work that starts today, and then reaching that peak and completion, fruition on the full moon, where we can just let that go. Endings, releases, emotion, Pisces moon, very emotional, right? I always go through Kleenex a lot whenever the moon's in Pisces, but the full moon in Pisces, you might be very sensitive and extremely, certainly very caring and compassionate. So it's the polar opposite of the Virgo-ness. So it's finding that balance between efficiency and caregiving, and being, and the sweetness of life, releasing emotional attachment. It's going to be in a square to Mars. The moon is going to be at a critical degree. It's 17 degrees of a mutable signs, like Pisces, is considered a critical degree in astrology. So it's something to be very aware of, more aware than others. It's the ruler of that full moon is going to be Jupiter, because it's ruled by Pisces, and Jupiter's in retrograde. So that and it's an inversion, meaning it's in a kind of a blind spot in the sign next to it, right? Pisces, Aries. So Jupiter, the full moon, can't see its ruler, so that there's like some stress there about the ability to get supported or be supported. And Jupiter's retrograde, right? So it brings up all of these connections and ideas. What's at play here? It's also the exaltation ruler is Venus, right? Venus is exalted in Pisces, so love and relationships and harmony. Well, Venus in its is opposing the moon, and it's also, remember, in her fall. So you might not feel, it might be challenged around feeling and getting support. It might be a little more challenging with this full moon. On the 10th also is the day that Mercury stations retrograde at 8 degrees Libra. What I find interesting, and then it's going to go back into Virgo and then go direct. But, you know, two things interesting around this. One is that there's this asteroid or minor planet called Fortuna, which is like the Wheel of Fortune. And Mercury stationing retrograde at 8 degrees Libra is going to be exactly aligned or conjunct with Fortuna. And you think about Venus being the ruler of this Mercury in Venus's temple. Venus is around personal finances and money. It's also in the sign of Libra, the arts and beauty and love and relationships. And so there's this conjunct Fortuna. There could be a change in one's fortune regarding relationships, love, harmony, beauty, glamour, you know, all of these Venusian things. Rich, you know, luxury is very much a Venus and Libra thing. I think of Ginger Rogers, you know, dancing with Fred Astaire, and that was when Neptune was in Libra. You could see Hollywood history through, you know, where was Neptune, right? And Neptune was the movies, and Neptune in Libra was these beautiful, you know, those movies with the Busby Berkeley girls and the glamour and the otherworldliness of beauty, and Ginger and her long satin flowing dresses spinning around, and you know, those floating boas, you know, that's just so Libra, right? So thank you for indulging me. Anyway, but conjunct Fortuna, we might be like, is there some shift or change in fortune, right? That the shift, you know, Mercury likes to travel and move. You go here, then you stop, you go backwards, you revisit, maybe revisiting something, or maybe a reversal of finances. If you didn't have good fortune, maybe there would be something good coming, because, you know, North Node is in Venus ruled Libra, Venus ruled Taurus. But it could be a change of circumstances for sure, regarding our relationships and ideas and attitudes regarding love and women and friendship. So that would be certainly a theme that's going to be we get to journey with during Mercury's retrograde. By the time Mercury gets into that retrograde on September 10th, it's going to be, there'll be 6 planets retrograde in September. 6 planets, that's a lot of retrograde. You got Mercury, we have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Wow, that's a lot. So Mars is not retrograde yet. So ignore what I just said. Did I say Mars? I don't know. But anyway, it's not Mars and it's not Venus. So, but it is Mercury. So let's do this again. Okay, it's Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Yay, those 6. So all the outers, and then there's Mercury. So that's a lot of rethinking and revisiting. So this is like, you know, things slowing down. So if you're trying to get things off the ground, for heaven's sake, cut yourself some slack. Use this time to really, all these planets are moving in the motion with the sun. So it has more of a highly elevated, eternal soul searching aspect to them. So that's where the universe wants. Ride that horse in the direction it's going. That's what Warner Earhart used to say. It's just better to ride the horse in the direction, right? Don't fight it. And so until October 3rd, we'll have 6 planets in retrograde, and then it'll go down over October. Then it'll be 5. It'll be 5, you know, when Mercury goes out of retrograde, and then it'll be 4 and 3, and then when Mars goes retrograde, we'll have 4 planets back to like 4. But that's a little more manageable. 6 is an awful lot. You know, that's what did we call that? A retrograde storm or something like that. Anyway, so moving on, Saturn is going to square Uranus from the 15th to the end of the month. We'll really feel that. It's not going to be by degree like it was last year, but certainly that feeling of what must change versus what do we hang on to as we build our future society, what's worth keeping, and really taking full stock and accountability for that, but also incorporating things that are new, that reflect new values, that are, say, innovations for the earth, like, say, solar powered or wind farms, or, innovative agricultural solutions with Uranus and Taurus. things, just, one possible thing. And so look is taking, having that square is like, it's that conflict. It's where action needs to be taken. And that part of us that wants to evolve and move forward with progress. And then there's this part that wants the brake pedal to keep things the way they were. And so there's that tug of war. So that'll be really more prominent from the middle of September to the end of the month. And then the 16th and 17th, the sun in Virgo is going to be opposing Neptune and Pisces. So the Sun-Neptune opposition, this might be where we get organized with, our art or our dreams and our visions or music, or poetry, things that are very Neptunian, transcendental reality, so that's the critical eye of the sun, maybe really honing in and getting really industrious around and making an effort to really move into these and to encompass and balance these mystical states with our everyday routine. Maybe there's a way in which we can weave and incorporate that, whether it's art or music or meditation or dreaming or journaling. You could also be about taking a discerning eye, that Virgoan discerning eye, to secrets and things that we've kept secret from ourselves, or we're confused around, or the shadow side of ourselves. So that'll be around the 16th, 17th. We have that opportunity. And then at the same time, Venus is also going to be squaring Mars. So just like the sun is squaring Mars for this entire Virgo lunation, then Venus is going to take the sun's place and square Mars. So again, war of the words, war of the worlds, of being careful to not, to be, yes, we want to be discriminating and in our relationships and our connections with others, but we don't want to just throw out the baby with the bathwater either. So it's like finding, what action needs to be taken, that we can be discriminating, but we're not warring either. So regarding relationships, our business dealings, you think about Gemini in the marketplace. So maybe about seeking practical solutions. The 18th, 19th, we have Mercury is going to be opposing Jupiter. And so there's a search for truth. How do we integrate, self-empowerment with taking care of others or thinking about others and our relationships with others, peaceful negotiations, speaking our truth in a harmonious way, but also discovering the truth of who we are, so self and others. 19th and 20th, Venus in Virgo is making a trine, a very positive trine. So there could be some excitement with trining Uranus and Taurus. So we might be finding maybe there's some innovative solutions regarding, financial matters, certainly with work and service and the environment, the things that we value. I also think about Venus and Virgo, like because it's in her fall, like maybe women not feeling support in the workplace, with like especially with Virgo, you think about crafts and things that you make with your hands. And so maybe there's some solutions that can be had, practical solutions that will really innovate and create and open new doors of opportunity with the trine with Uranus. Future thinking. Friday the 23rd, we have the sun and Mercury move into that magical Cazimi window. So that'll be Cazimi, which is exactly in the throne room of the sun. So Mercury's protected from all the burn that he had to endure to get to that spot, right? And then for those moments in time, well, 0 degrees Libra is another critical degree. There's those words again, critical degree. And so fairness and our thoughts and our attitudes and things around and how we relate to each other regarding fairness and equality. Maybe it's about with because Venus is the domicile ruler, so how we connect the people who we love, the agreements that we have. Mercury and Venus is about agreement. Equality for even women in the workplace, women leaders, speaking up, what's essential, what needs to go. There could be one of the, this is because the exaltation ruler, where this Cazimi gets support, Saturn Retrograde in Aquarius is the exaltation ruler. So what does that mean? Saturn in Aquarius, you know, we're spending this time, these 5 months of Saturn retrograde in Aquarius is to, you know, we're building our future, our ideal society. And so what needs to be checked and what needs, and so that there's an eye on what needs to be checked and what needs to be fairly looked at and accounted for, you know, as we are seeking and creating these harmonious agreements and relationships with each other. Friday the 23rd, also the sun goes into Libra. So Venus is the ruler. Of course, Venus will be fully, you know, the goddess in charge of this, of that season, as she always is. And Saturn is exalted in Libra. So Saturn is the exaltation ruler. Of course, I'll get more into that. Hopefully Rachel will come back. Yay, Rachel. And maybe Lindsay too, you know, who has been in Italy for the summer. We missed you, Lindsay. You know, Rachel and I have been having a great time. She did Leo, we did Virgo, and so hopefully we'll have her back and we can talk Libra, all things the archetype of Libra. It's great, good, green, evergreen information. So that'll be at the end of the month. Saturday the 24th, Venus is going to oppose Neptune. And so again, this discernment comes into play versus confusion and idealism and being real versus being in fantasy land regarding our dreams or regarding our work. Maybe discerning what dreams are worth keeping and pursuing and working on. Sunday into Monday, the 25th, 26th, we're almost done. We're almost at the end of the month. Venus will be in an overcoming trine to Pluto. So there's this care to attention, a care and attention to details, assisting in the shadow work. Maybe there's something about workplace care, getting a boost, you know, attention to health, service, things that will help us create a new sustainable society. The new moon will happen on that same day. The new moon will be at 2 degrees of Libra, the Libra new moon, and that'll be the final new moon before the solar eclipse. So very exciting time. Getting ready, right? The winds of change are blowing. Monday the 26th, the sun will be opposing Jupiter. So themes of leadership and women come into play. We're revisiting the big picture around leaders, people at the very top, incorporating equality with leadership and women, I would say women and empowerment. Mercury is also at the same time aligned with Venus and Virgo. So there could be, this is great for writing. This is great for editing, maybe getting praise for, you know, being discerning and efficient. You might find yourself, you know, how you meet and socialize could be via books or intellectual pursuits or agriculture or volunteer work or hospitals. These are all areas that might come up for you. And then we finish out the month with Monday to Wednesday, the 26th to the 28th. We have Mars in Gemini remember, he's still direct. He's going to be trining Saturn in Aquarius. So that could provide, you know, some vigor around commitment with long-term actions, with selling and marketing and networking and education, new ideas. So, you know, finding support for those things. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Finally, we got, oh, it was all that detail, right? What can I say? When it's Pisces season, I'll have 3 words, right? You know. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this, and it's always great to hear from everybody. So how are you? What are you planning to do for this totally efficient Virgo season? And how are you handling that Mars in Gemini? That over-caffeinated, overstimulated Mars in Gemini. Hopefully breathing and keeping your feet on the earth, keeping grounded, will be a very good thing to do for everyone, no matter where it falls in your chart. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you soon. And thank you all so much for listening. This is Irlianna Samsara, StarSound Speaks, StarSoundastrology.com. Take care now.